by saying that I get to be here in front with two of my favorite people, so that's always a joy. And that I've known Magali since I lived in Mexico City in the late 80s and have had the opportunity and pleasure of writing about her work. But maybe now that she's mentioned this idea of the poetic and the graphic, or that which is two different kinds of lines, let me just say that in addition to Magali's seminal importance to the feminist art movement in Mexico and that particular generation that came into its own in the late 70s and early 80s, she's been described by her peers and her colleagues as the most writerly or the most readerly visual artist, because you can ask her about any particular novel and she'll have read it and can analyze it and give you a great exegesis about that novel. So this is relevant to her art practice insofar as I think that what makes her work unique in the way that we can situate it into an avant-garde history is the way in which she's linking text and image. And maybe you might say some words about, I mean, it seems to me that her lines, that is the graphic line, does something that that expresses an emotion or some kind of idea, that it is a visual idea that cannot be expressed in our everyday common speech. And so that the narrative that she creates around some of these drawings are a way of both not illustrating what the image does necessarily, but trying to create a tension or contrast with them.
Yes, it's a space in between them. Exactly.
And I think that's been the case. Magali began, now today she was saying that she's always, perhaps detrimentally, always considered a book artist, but that was just her beginning. She's now done all kinds of media, including ceramics and large textiles. But perhaps I think it's because of that origin in the artist book that this play between text and image occurs. So maybe you might talk about your trajectory as a book artist, and then how it's developed into this particular work, and maybe especially because I think what you're trying to accomplish in the animation is to give the line a kind of movement or a kind of cadence or rhythm that is often accomplished in the poetic line through language.
Okay, to the first part. And I started drawing because I wanted to be a writer when I was a kid. And then I was struck by sex as a teenager. And it came as
how's that been?
Yeah, I was just like the complex story, I was a thunder just came over it. I realized that I had a body and I didn't ever thought about it. I was a very good student. I liked to read. I was kind of shy. I come from a very large family, so I have a sister who was the shocking one and very, extroverted kind of type. So I was very comfortable where I was, except that when this thing started, I really wanted to go and see other things. The visuality, the world, the visual world got a grip on me and made me curious, which I don't think it was when I was a kid. I liked to read, but I didn't go out a lot. So for me, these two words, the one with the text and the one with the drawing, they were separate. They were not the same. The experience of each one was different. And at the same time, I was caught right in the middle. So when I started my practice, I decided that I was going to make artist books because then you had both. I was lucky enough to find about Ulises Cabrión, a Mexican artist who began as a poet and finished as a visual artist. And I became friends with him, and he sort of made it easy for me to understand that art, visual art, included that part, or that experience at that very time, the 70s, 60s, 70s. And so I was very soon very comfortable trying to mix all these things. I didn't know exactly how. At first, my drawings were with little text attached, and the artist books did it very easily. But as time went by, I changed. I moved to painting, to graphics, and text worked differently. Sometimes with the paintings, it was the title or the way that I arranged the exhibition, usually it was one concept that I wanted to work with, but I always had some kind of novel or work of fiction of other artists and some visual artists that I thought as a company, as someone to have a dialogue with. I would say like Eva Hess, Franz Kafka. Those has to do with a lot of this book that Deleuze and Guattari wrote about Franz Kafka. Por una literatura menor, that the image is very nice because it's a very everyday experience. It's like cooking. They say to work, to write as Kafka did, is just to mix all the ingredients in one pot. High culture with lower culture. And for me, the writing, especially in the 70s, was a land to conquer because women were not supposed to say certain things. I was telling yesterday, Frida Kahlo was considered a very bad taste artist because she dared not to be heroic and talk about the revolution for herself. So that was considered, like not nice for a woman, too narcissist. So for me, that was the land with the writing, to be able to say something that has not been said. But the visual thing, it was also to experience and to be able to give shape what the emotions were like. Not to describe them, not to describe a body, but to get in touch with the experience of a feminine body in that case, in my particular case. This animation, I think it's, I started doing it, animation since 2000, but I think at first we just, did the drawings and tried to move them a little bit. And I still like them because I think in this shyness was something very awkward that I liked, but I couldn't think as a piece. It just, is trying to translate some of the movement with my drawings in something that moves, but actually it just didn't seem right. In this piece, we did it differently because I understood that what I wanted is the idea that you can hear something and see nothing. And this nothing meant something. So the music is my sister's, and she understood it very well. She wrote this piece after our parents died, and I think it's very sad and at the same time very sexy, very strong. And she recorded it with live instruments so as to make it very, very exuberant. And because also the drawing it's too, well, you've seen it, it's not a lot of a drawing, it's just very subtle. And I wanted to make it very hypnotic, because I'm sure, I think that people are afraid of things that don't move. We're so fascinated by the moving image that we wanted everything to move too fast. But movement, if it's slow, it's as entertaining and poetic as any other narrative. And I wanted that it would be so slow, so hypnotic that you have to stay and start feeling. And with that music, it was possible. And I wanted also the impact of the color, just in 2 little times, 2 little seconds to approach you, because I wanted that the screen disappeared and that the blue, it became you. That was the real idea. That's why it's just one time that everything turns out blue. I think it's very shocking when you discover that inside the Glaciers there's this very rich color. And I worked before with indigo, with indigo pigments, And I know it's a sacred color, and you can see why some colors of pigmentos have been recognized as sacred or very important in each culture, because there's this very strong emotion that these colors can provoke. Well, I think that's it, more or less. This is the idea, to be able to make a piece that have that it's closed, that it's not open, but at the same time that it has the drawing as a text, the music as a surrounding, as a very seductive emotion, and the space in between them for you to be trapped, as I feel.